ourselves so deeply grounded in this universe, grounded to God. In God's arms, dear God, discovering our connection with you has been an on and off journey. Some days we may remember of you and be willing to choose the good. Other days we may forget it and keep choosing the choices of old conditionings, sometimes from remote past, and getting ourselves in trouble time and again. We're tired of it. So we come tonight to embrace renewal, one that is deep, so deep that it transforms ourselves forever. It can't be difficult because it comes from you. So tonight we would like to kindly ask you to boost in us the ability to see what we haven't seen yet, to understand what we haven't understood, so we can finally encode properly and make healthier, better choices for everyone. May we stay under your guidance, feel your protection, as you kindly grant us the permission to begin our therapeutic moment with you, and so be it. Thank you, Tony. So welcome everyone. We have our children here because we have no children's lessons tonight. So, all the parents, you're welcome to bring the children because it's good for the children to experience like sitting near us. So it's not a problem at all, you know. On the contrary, they are so welcome because the distance between them and us is just a few years apart, maybe. Right? We're not that much older, right? So this can be fun too for everyone, right? We don't have slides because Mentor Joseph wanted us to go through. There is a book that is not in English, published in English, named in Portuguese, No Roteiro de Jesus. It's actually a compilation published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. A year or 2 years ago, we were able to go through the translation with the help of Kardec Radio's team and share the chapters and the explanations at Kardec Radio. It's under the name 40 Days with the Master. It's in Kardec Radio's YouTube or the Facebook page or even SoundCloud. And it's now Spotify, so it's all there. So you can listen to the chapters. And why we're recommending this? Because it's precisely what we need for the renewal that we need. If we ask what Jesus has come to do, the answer would be, according to the spirits, Emmanuel mainly said that Jesus came to bring renewal. But why do we need renewal? Like a house, when do you need remodeling? When something is not working well, or doesn't look the best. The question before we enter this chapter, which is a beautiful encounter between somebody and Jesus and what happens next. The question for us, do we recognize that we need renewal? Because many of us say, oh yeah, I want to change, but don't change me. I want to change, but don't change me. Because we're like, no, I'm fine, but this person needs to change, that person needs to change, that person needs to change, and we have a prescription for everybody but ourselves. This is so human. Okay, so we are in the realm of normality, but Jesus comes to say, you're beautiful, but you'll become even more if you polish this and that and the other. You will always be you, he tells us. But he says, if we just fix a little bit here and there, it's like calibration. It's when a pianist gets a piano and calibrates it, or a guitarist gets a guitar. So we're not changing the instrument, we're just making it more refined to sound better. That's all it is. It's like a knife. Yeah, the knife, right? A knife, sometimes the cut is not very fine, so you need to sharpen it. Thank you. And then after you cut, and you have to be careful not to cut yourself because it's cutting the air and everything else, right? Even a fly, cut in half, right? That would be nice. Like, no, I don't know. To see the scene, I'm thinking cartoon-like scenes. So much cartoons. I'm seeing cartoons, the fly and the knife. Oh, Mom. Oh, my gosh. Too much cartoon for me. But we don't want to kill the flies. But they have to make a decision. Either out or out, right? Not in the kitchen. But for us, we need to do this calibration. I think Jesus is very loving. He doesn't propose anything brutal. We're resistant to change because we think changes are dramatic and brutal. And that's not necessarily what he means. So what is this renewal that he is talking about? What is this sharpening all about? Okay, here comes the story. True story, okay? It's in chapter of the book that I mentioned, 50. It's named Sublime Renewal. Wow, that's the renewal, huh? The remodeling of all remodelings. And it comes with Jesus. So the story goes by this way. And I'll just refer to it to extract a few elements that were told by the spirit author Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier. So after Jesus' passing, one of the disciples, James, he was very connected to the Mosaic law, right? They were Hebrews, and then Jesus came, and in the Jewish tradition, he said, there is an element we need to focus. He didn't come to destroy what they have learned, but he said, since Moses' time, we need to learn how to love God. And loving God means to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And James was very to the book. Like, by the book, he was always following rules. And after the crucifixion, he missed Jesus so much. Can you imagine living that close and then he's not there anymore? Oh, the day we feel that, we're on another page, like missing Jesus. Because when we are together with him, we will miss him too. When we feel not that close. And he wanted to be visited by Jesus. And in a way, he felt like retreating from the day to day life because he looked around and saw so many problems. Do we see problems too? Hmm? He did see problems. He saw problems in which, the people, they were just so unpolished, not educated. They didn't want to follow the rules. Do you recognize that as well? We're not that far from James in many ways. He, I'm not saying you guys, but usually nowadays we're not very tolerant. And he said, wouldn't it be more just to retreat and be in prayers so I don't need to mingle with this worldly thing of the world? Why do I have to be amongst the Gentiles, the people who are not clean? He thought. Peter and the others were in Jerusalem amongst the worst people, but helping them out. And James couldn't do it. He was like, ugh, I can't do this. And they were with the lepers, with the ones who were mad, with the single moms, the abandoned children, the ones who were suffering. And he recognized that many people who were amongst those suffering ones were not really suffering. They were taking advantage of the circumstances, just like when we go to the homeless service and we recognize that not everybody's a homeless and not everybody is like in extreme need, and it may turn you off, making you feel like, why am I doing this? He had that feeling. Like, I know some people need it, but there are some people who don't, and I'm not going to be subjecting myself to this. So he instead said, I'm going to go to this house and retreat myself. Didn't the Lord ask us to be pure? That's what I'm going to do. So he didn't like eating too much. So that's a point here. It helps. Like not eating too much. He was fasting and praying. He even forgot about eating because he was so prayerful. He was praying and praying and praying. For how many days? For more than 200 days. We're talking about more than half a year. And Jesus, was he listening? Can you imagine your best friends, close friends, and then you're praying every day, please come and visit, and praying, fasting and praying, fasting. But after 200 days, Jesus came. Let me describe to you in Humberto de Campos' words the scenario. Let's visualize it, okay? That's why the screen is kind of blank for us, so we project it. So he was in his very clean clothes, so he was, taking care of himself in a way, fasting, praying constantly. And he could listen to the songs of the birds, the wind passing by, the flowers and the leaves. And after those 200 days, longing to hear from the Savior, says Humberto de Campos, at some point, he observed that in the sky, at twilight, he said, a sweet there was this sweet and long twilight. Think about this, because now that we have these winter days, next time you see it, think about it, this moment that James was living. It's not by chance that the Spirit author is describing the very moment in which he receives the visit. He observed that there was this light in the sky that was becoming brighter and brighter. And in prayer, he observed that it took the form of a man and came in his direction. He was so moved because he recognized that in front of him was the Master of all masters, Master Jesus. It was him. The same robe, the same hair that would fall on his shoulders. Thank you. And in his face there was love and melancholy. This is interesting because in all the Spiritist reports, we observe that Jesus is very loving, but when he comes to see us, he has this tone of melancholy. And if we think about it, it's just like a parent when you see a daughter and a son that could be much better off, and you're still falling short. You love that child so much, but you're like, you're better than that. So there is melancholy because you long for the best. And that's how Jesus sees us. He looks at us saying, you can be better than that. I know you. Like a coach saying, come on. I know it's not your best day, but if you work on your will towards the good, we're going to make it. Well, James waited, but Jesus walked towards him. The sole disciple could not stay silent any longer. You see, Jesus, even after his passing, he keeps his silence. Not that he's silent, but he's waiting for us. He doesn't impose himself. He's not a violent master. If we're waiting for Jesus to come and say, I'm going to change your life, sit and lay down, because it's not going to happen. In no reports he does that. He only says, if you want it, here we come. Just together. He works together with us. But it's up to us. He said, Master, Master, but you were just here and now you're leaving. Oh, he was leaving already? The Master turned and generously replied, well, today I still need to be in Jerusalem, where our companions need my help for their whole work. But what about me, Master? He was afflicted. Don't I need your loving care? I'm here cherishing your memory. Jesus, blessing James with his eyes, said, James, the soldier. Let us listen, because this is Jesus' words, probably for us. James, the soldier who deliberately retreats from the combat, does not need indispensable supply for the extent of the fight. I have left my disciples. I have left the unfortunate of the earth to my disciples as a heritage. The gospel is a construction, a sublime construction of joy and love. And until we see a falling heart in the world, retreating and resting is impossible. But Lord, you said we should be in elevation and purity. Yes, I don't discriminate you for observing my teachings, but I must say that it's easy to be a saint when you're far from the sinners. But didn't you tell us that we are the light of the world? The dialogue is so beautiful. It's almost like a child and a parent. That constant asking for more evidence, more explanation. And Jesus is very patient. Haven't you told us that we're the light of the world? The divine visitor smiled with sadness and said, and a parenthesis here, huh? If Jesus as the master smiles with sadness, you as a parent can do the same. Because parents usually feel so guilty because they are not always happy and joyful. Sometimes it's good to smile with sadness and say, really? Really? Like the many super spirits that came at Kardec's time. Kardec was asking questions. And they're like, haven't we already answered that before? As we told before, as we explained earlier. And it's okay in our world to be like this. What's important is to never give up. So he sadly smiled and said, however, where is the merit of light when light runs away from the shadows? In the darkness of cruelty and slander, of mystification and ignorance, of suffering and crimes, we need to light up the glory to God in exaltation to eternal good. James wanted to continue the sublime conversation, but his voice couldn't come out from his throat, asphyxiated in tears. James was crying. And as someone who was in a hurry to reach the destination, Jesus was in a hurry too. To help people. Jesus went away after caressing the face of James and drying out the tears. This is Jesus. He cares, but he can't wait. There are people who need more. On the same night, however, the apostle renewed, climbed down from where he was at the mountain, climbed down to Nazareth, and during long hours, he slowly advanced to Jerusalem, stopping here and there, helping others. And in the sunny morning of the 7th day of the journey back home, when Simon Peter came to the modest room where they were helping the sick, he met James helping clean the sick patients and cleaning the feet of those who were in need. He was renewed. It's interesting to observe that he climbed the mountain of his ego, right? I'm better than others. my life, this thing, the poor, the sick, the ones who make mistakes, I'm not going to mix myself up with them. How many spirits do we see in our mediumistic meetings who come and tell us, we don't want you to help the homeless, or the people in nursing homes, or the people in the center. They don't deserve the help that you're giving them. They want to convince us that it's not worthwhile. But what do we say? That's their problem, not mine. We're not the judge, are we? Are we justice makers now? Are we going there to say, yeah, you deserve, you don't deserve, you deserve, you don't deserve? That's not us. We share what we have, and if somebody has more, if they want more, what can we say? It's their conscience. We're going to share joy and hope and everything. And if people do something else, it's not our problem. We're showing. We're not the ones who judge. We're not the ones who select. We're not even pure. Of course, everything needs to happen in order. It has to have discipline on our side to make it happen. But on the other hand, we can't do this climbing on our ego and be away, not to be bothered. I know people who tell me, I want to study Spiritism in my home. It's much easier. Why? Oh, it's too complicated to be in a group. And you think being at home studying, you're going to be in the mountain, so pure, in prayers. All because you don't want to practice patience. You don't want to practice tolerance. But you want to be blind. You want to be blind. And that's what the spirits tell us in the Spirit's book. When Kardec asks, what are the main vices? They say pride and selfishness. And if you think, Carlos, can I draw it there? Can I use it? Okay. So, and it's so interesting because when we think about Eric Burns' transactional analysis, when he talks about the structure of our minds in ego states, and then he says ego states in terms of personality, not like ego pride. He says inside of us we have a parent, an adult, and a child. This child inside of us, if we don't have a child that is adapted to life, we will have a child that is often rebellious or very sensitive. Majority of people on earth have this child that somewhat, because of previous lives and childhood, they are here. And that's a problem. Because we're going to interact with other people with this child that is like, in a way, James was rebelling. Because Jesus showed them, you have to be there and help them. It was clear. But he was rebelling. No, I'm better than those people. He wanted, it's egocentrism. It's pride, selfishness, and usually our childhood is very egocentric. And it's a note for parents here. In Spiritism, we can't allow our children to be egocentric. We're not helping them. Oh, but they're children. No. No, you're not the center of the universe. You're not more important than other people. On the contrary, that's when you need to learn how to be just like everybody else. The rule applies to everybody else. You need to be self-controlled, etc., etc. And your wish is not more important than anybody else's wish. Like we go to a store, we buy things for them. The minute you step in a store to buy things for you, they are unsettled. I want to play. Okay, now it's your turn to help mom and dad find things for them. Why is it only important for you? Stop the selfishness now. Would you like that I do that with you? No. If we don't change that in childhood, don't think that when they are teens and young adults they will be better, because I see cases every day of people getting into depression, and depression that is masked for an adult that is undergoing a tantrum. It's an adult's tantrum because they cannot handle loss. They don't know how to handle a no from life. They lost a job, a dream that is, an expectation that is unmet, etc. And then they're like, I don't like to live anymore. What? What are you saying? Who taught you that? Your parents taught you that that's the way to go? Bad. Who said you were born and reborn yet again to have your will fulfilled? Because as far as we know, we're here to learn how to fulfill God's will. And that needs to be taught now. What does God want from us? But I want this. Do you think God wants you to do this? It's very labor intensive for parents and educators. But it's very important to teach children to deal with frustration, with unmet expectations, and be happy. Saying, if God is saying you can't receive this, it's for your own benefit. Maybe we got sick because we needed time to reflect. What do we need to change? Thank you, God. You're protecting me from something that is dangerous. So we need to ponder. That inner child comes from many lives, the wants of many lives. And we need to tame it, or we'll be very sensitive adults. If a boss says no, if a friend doesn't give us attention, and then these people cannot be mediums in a mediumistic meeting. Because if you say anything that hurts their feelings or they feel hurt, they get out the door. I see many spiritist centers. Oh, friends, they call. Oh, but you know, the director told me I need to study more. Great, this director's wonderful. Oh, but I'm trying my best. Is that your best? It doesn't look like your best. Too sensitive. In Portuguese we call milindre. Can't touch. It's the inner child in us that needs to be changed. Or rebellious. Always, we know the rules, we do the opposite. We know the rules, does the opposite. Know the rules, does the opposite. And if we keep doing this, we'll be fired as adults. Or some of us will be in jail. Or even worse. So it's this inner child that needs healing, renovation. How can we renew it? And Jesus comes and boosts the adult. In Spiritism, we call this discernment. Discernment is, in our brain, is all about the maturation of the prefrontal cortex. And why we're saying this? Because we can boost it. And that's why all the spirits say the light of Spiritism comes to make us think, discern. Emmanuel, in a book named Harvest of Light, he has a saying for Spiritists. Spiritists, it's important to give food to the poor, but more important is to share the Spiritist teachings, because it helps people discern in life. And neuroscience showed in 2004 that our problems don't happen at decision-making time. It happens before we make a decision, how we see things. I'll give a silly example, because it's Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's Eve. It's all about the food, right? And then we see a lot of food. And we see something sweet. And we think it's so sweet. And we look at it. Oh. The problem is not choosing the dessert or no dessert. The problem is when we encode that dessert is good. It's before we make a decision. Because when we look at dessert and we see, Mamma Mia, it's not only the calories, but when we understand that sugar, it's hard for us. We need a lot of this to really transform that input. When we understand that sugar, when it goes into the blood system, it changes the pH of your blood. When you change the pH, you're changing the pH of your brain irrigation, what we call the neurochemistry. And you'll be moody next, or grumpy, or miserable, depending on the amount of sugar that you put in. It's a sugar high and a super low. So then next time we look at this dessert, we say, man, this is poison. Then it's easy. Poison or no poison? No poison, of course. So you see, we're gravitating little by little to reframing things. So what we're talking about here is this child will finish this rebelliousness if we discern differently. We observe the facts and we see what's behind. There will be a day on earth in which we are going to look at food as elements for nutrition. We're coming close. Not there yet. We're gonna eat. I saw a YouTube video of a mom that taught her child to look at food and know which vitamins and minerals there are in the food. So she could grab, she was like 6, and she could grab something and say, this has vitamin A, B, this has XYZ minerals. So you'd say, I need this, I need that, and that's how we're going to do in the future. In the supermarket, we're going to look at things like, oh, and we're coming close to it. We're more and more, like closer than we've ever been to getting to that. Eating per our needs, and it varies from person to person. Some people need certain foods more than others, but we need to get to know, and that's part of self-knowledge too. Because our physical bodies are, in a way, our physical bodies are the instrument we need in this life. It's like when you're diving in the ocean and you have that, the whole apparatus. If it's not optimal, you have a bad experience when you dive. So we need to optimize this apparatus to live better here. So taking care of our physical body is number one. And taking care doesn't mean we're going to be in the gym the whole day or eating XYZ food like XYZ people. It's up to us to identify what we need best. Some people, they do intermittent fasting and it works for them. May not work for you. Some people, they need meat. Other people can't. We're gravitating to a no-meat planet. But until then, our physiology will have to change the genetics. We're getting there. But not everybody's there yet, but we're moving to that direction. So for us, we need to boost that discernment to renew ourselves. What was James' problem? And remember, he was Jesus' disciple. So next time we see, oh, I'm falling short by the much I have learned, remember, Jesus had James just next to him. And he also made choices that were not very appropriate for the time, very selfish, very egotistic. But the minute he learned it, he climbed down, mingled, blended in, and started reaching out. And that's how he found the presence of the Master closely to him. So the inner renewal requires this openness. That's why the goodwill, the will to do the good, to choose the good, not only for us, but for everybody. It's before decision-making time. It's how we encode it. When people used to look at somebody who was of a different race with eyes of spite or despise, they had an error in the encoding. And Jesus comes and say, let me help you out. That person and you are children of God just alike. The color of the skin, the upbringing does not change a thing. That's where inner renewal comes and plays a role in our decision making. So it's to renew the way we encode things. Sometimes that relative that we think, oh, that person. Let's look at the person again. Who is that person? And we have history. So let us pray for each other. Let us, of course, we are going to know the limits of the relationships. We cannot be the savior, but it's what we keep inside that matters. For James, the problem was not what he was not doing, but what he was doing to himself. He was useless. By being encapsulated in his pride, he was not able to help anybody. He was useless. We can be more useful if we just reframe everything. So let's just finalize by reading this Jesus' words again, this very paragraph. The soldier, James, he said it Jesus looking at James and blessing him with his eyes. That's so beautiful. The soldier that deliberately runs away from combat does not need indispensable supplies for the extent of the fight. I gave the unfortunate of the earth to my disciples as my heritage. The gospel is the sublime construction of joy and love. And it is impossible to retreat and rest until we rescue the last falling heart. Jesus is not parting because there are so many people crying. There isn't a single day in which this planet is free of tears. And when the world tries to bring us to the prison of selfishness and pride, be careful, because that's really the voice of evil. It's a good strategy to keep us in prison is to say, think of yourself first. But remember, when we think of ourselves first, we're putting ourselves in this mountain and we are far. And it's much colder there. It's far from the joy of being with the good spirits and our Master. So that's the call to our renewal, goodwill, to do the good. As we are, as Daisy said, as we are marching towards a new year, it's a big deal in our planet because it's a new decade. As Mentor Joseph says, beautiful things are, in the pipeline of the good spirits to be manifested on earth, because they have an agenda also. They also have an outline of things they need to be done. So it's up to us to join them and join this new decade of many beautiful things that are going to happen, because we're closer to big progress on earth than we've ever been. And we can see it everywhere. I know it's slow, but we are slowly marching towards the progress of the planet. Let's join it with our inner renewal, right? Shall we, friends? Let us now take advantage of this communication between James and Jesus and visualize ourselves in front of Jesus. He wants us to talk to him. Why not? Christmas is every day. Why not in these moments that we're going to play? It's going to be a special passage because we're going to play a visualization that is named Encounter with Jesus. You think only James deserves the encounter? We say, me too. So we're going to play this visualization. It's in a CD named Therapeutic Visualizations. And Joana De Angelis gave the information to Divaldo Franco, and it was published. So let us take this moment as our encounter and our very treatment. Shall we, friends? Okay?
You already know how to conduct yourself. Let us begin this new visualization by taking up a good position. Breathe, always slowly. As you breathe, relax. Let go all of your tensions. Allow your body to release you. Spirit. The only way you can do this is by relaxing. Begin relaxing. As you breathe in a tranquil rhythm, modern life causes us many pressures of a psychosocial nature that make us lose our harmony. Conflicts of various origins that unbalance us. Difficulties which are in fact existential challenges that discourage us. But now, you will be able to free yourself from all these afflictions by sending to your unconscious in a mental reprogramming everything that is necessary for a healthy and harmonious existence. Visualize a mountain. Visualize a mountain, or a mount, or a range of mountains, whatever is familiar to you. Visualize it. Now, transfer yourself there. It is nighttime, and nature is festive. And you are at the top of the mountain. Let your eyes drop and reach the horizon. And you can still notice the last rays of sunshine. Note the other mountains are already in darkness, and the sky full of stars. Observe. You are alone. We are rarely alone. And now, you are alone. Alone with God. God fills the universe and is beyond it. At this moment, you can feel Him closer. Let Him penetrate you. At a distance, you can hear the music made by the wind, the various sounds of nature, and you are all alone on this immense mountain, or in the place of your choice. Walk slowly, absorbing the oxygen, nature's purest and most rarefied oxygen. Breathe it in. Let yourself be filled by this blessing that maintains organic life, all life on earth. Breathe in gently. Hold it. Breathe out. Look at the sky once again. You might identify some of the stars if you are familiar with them. But taking your eyes down in a straight line, you can see in front of you, at a long distance, a star that is moving. You can see a moving star. Observe it. It is shining brightly. It is coming towards you, and you are dazzled. As you contemplate it, it is coming closer and closer. And now, It's only yards away. It has the size of a human body, and it has become one. Observe this body, the long robes, the white material, the stoic head, surrounded by hair with combs of a honey-colored light, or of golden color. The beard over the slim chest, mixed with his hair. The strong nose. Observe the lips, full lips, slightly open, and the eyes like two torches. The ample forehead. You know him. It is Jesus. It is Jesus who has come closer to you. Observe him. There he is. He comes a little closer, and you see him in all his glory, irradiating a gentle light. He looks at you. The expression is one of tenderness. There is an air of melancholy, and he emanates much love. He seems to say to you without words, "Ask me for something. I have come to help you. Ask me for something." This is a moment, a very important moment in your life. Don't ask for trivial things. Meditate on something with a great meaning, something profound, something great. And when I count to 3, ask him for it. Be brief, without justifications, without explanations. Think about what you will request. Think about it. Now, I will count. 1, 2, 3. Now, ask him. He has already registered your request, and he opens his arms, coming closer to you, to embrace you. Embrace him. Embrace him. He melts in your arms and goes into you, disappearing within you. Remember that he said, "I am the life." And he is within you now, impregnating your immortal and triumphant spirit. Do not become melancholic anymore. Do not think about possible future disappointments. Do not allow yourself to hold unjustified, tormenting ideas. He is within you. So say this: I am life, and a triumphant life. Say it again, and once again. Say, I am happiness in life. Repeat it. I am fulfilled, and so I shall remain. Look at yourself. You are irradiating His light. Again, look at yourself. You are irradiating His light. Breathe it. Hold it. Breathe out. Say to yourself, nothing of a disturbing nature deserves my attention. When I return to the objective reality, I will conserve the presence of Jesus within me, and I shall be healthy, happy. Even when I'm faced with the struggles of evolution, in view of the challenges, I will remain healthy as I am now. Project this onto your conscious mind and reprogram your life. You deserve to be happy, and you are happy. Now, it is time to come back. Come back to the place where your body is. Come back. Take it totally. Feel its organic sensations. Keeping your eyes closed. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Listen to the music in the air. Hear it. Open your eyes. Feel the sensation of well-being that you retain. Gently move. If you want to, you can yawn. You can stretch. For whatever there might be, never lose touch with the sensation of well-being that you have brought back from the mountain or from the mount where you were. Hold on to this sensation and repeat the experience periodically, helping Jesus to answer your request. Through a positive attitude, an idealistic mind, a pacified heart, and thanks to the inner change for the better that you will make in this very existence, so that you can be happy.
In this beautiful embrace with Jesus, and let us express gratitude tonight. Dear loving Master, we are fulfilled with your love towards each one of us. The embrace we just felt is so powerful that we feel renewed and ready for the new year to come. We understand the message very well tonight. As we know so much, we have the obligation to give so much. We ask that you keep us in line, inspiring us to keep doing the good, to do more and more, and that way we're able to do better for ourselves. And lastly, we would like to ask that the many blessings that we receive tonight and feel it, that is shared with our families and friends, the many people we encounter that are going through difficult times, that they are able to receive healing energies spreading all around the planet. Thank you so much, loving Master, for always being with us. And with your permission, we would like to close tonight's meeting, and so be it.